Hey there, it is Faith Talk Today. I'm Rick Probst, and we're excited that it's another weekend of Faith Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate my producer, Ezra Ortiz. Almost forgot his name there because I'm struggling with a senior moment or two every now and then. So, Ezra, if I forget your name, just put it up there in graphic like you did for Greg and Erin Smalley and resist the drift. Speaking of Erin and Greg Smalley, see, that sounds better, Erin, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Erin and Greg Smalley
yeah,
instead of Greg and Erin Smalley,
that
doesn't it?
sounds great.
Yeah. We've got a special guest, Erin Smalley from Focus on the Family. Her and her husband lead the marriage team there at Focus, and they are a part of Resist the Drift. And that's a marriage conference at Mount Paran, September the 15th through the 16th. And if you get a chance, and I do want to talk a little bit about their podcast, is called Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage. Not Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That song's been
Mhm.
done. This is Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage, the podcast, and the one from August the 21st, I believe it was, Treating Your Spouse with Respect is off the chain. You gotta listen to that and all the rest. Erin, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing very good. It's so good to have you. We've been listening to you guys for years. Thank you for what you do.
Mm,
We do want to talk about the drift, and this is personal for you and Greg. That's why
mm,
you can go out and talk about
mm.
drift. I've been married for almost 41 years, and
Okay.
I you've given us some tools here, even at our age. But I think these tools are for young folks getting
Mhm,
ready to get married, those that have been married for a while. So
mhm.
let's talk about the drift, resist the drift, kind of define what is the drift. I know
Mhm.
there can be different things to it. It's not always unfulfilled needs, maybe. It could be just life. But let's talk
Yeah.
about the drift. Describe it for us.
Well, you think about when you start dating and you're pursuing someone romantically, you spend a lot of time focusing on them.
Hmm.
And when you get married, often what happens is couples start focusing on careers or having a family or running a household, church responsibilities, on and on. And sometimes our attention can get on different things. And then there becomes this natural drift that begins with for that couple. And the great news is you don't have to experience that drift if you resist the drift.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
You
creative.
don't you don't actually have to drift. You can
No.
actually catch it before the
Yeah,
drift.
yes. And I know Greg and I experienced this probably around 8 years into our marriage.
Okay.
Suddenly I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm married to a roommate. And I don't know a single person, including myself, that got married to have a roommate because all of us have had more than likely roommates. And so we get married with this longing to be deeply connected, deeply known within this relationship. And then when life gets going, we're busy and we're, exhausted, we're worn out. Sometimes we stop pursuing and that drift begins.
Erin Smalley with us. We're talking about resist the drift. She's talking a little bit about her own experience, but you can catch her and Greg at the Resist the Drift Marriage Conference at Mount Paran, September the 15th through the 16th. Get your tickets there. And you can find out more faithtalkatlanta.com. And Ezra just put up the graphic. Thank you very much. Erin, when you went to Greg, I'm assuming that I think you
Mhm.
just said that you picked up on the drift
Yeah.
first, maybe. How does a spouse say, you know what? I think there's a drift. How do you communicate to your spouse being the husband or the wife?
Right.
Because I got to be honest. If my wife came to me and said, "There's a drift," I go, "Oh no, no, there's
Yeah.
no drift. It's all good."
And I would say that's what's key, Rick, is how do we present it? I don't know that I did it all that great back, we've been married 31 years now, so 23 years ago, going to Greg and saying, "Gosh, I feel like roommates." So one way to do it that might be more successful than how I did it, go to your spouse and say, "Gosh, I'm feeling some distance here, and I really, really want to feel connected to you.
Love that.
What can we do to really spend more time together, to connect at that deeper emotional level, maybe talk through some conflict that hasn't gone well, whatever it is that's getting in the way of feeling connected, then how do we address that? And just letting them know, I really want to be connected to you.
And that sounds to me like you're not putting the other person on defense, because you know how that happens in couples' lives,
Yes.
because we know each other so well as partners, as husband and wife, that if there's something said, you're like, whoa, wait, what do you mean by that?
Right. Very common for the defensiveness to rise up. And so I always say, as a marriage and family counselor, I'm always encouraging people to really look at how can you say this in the way that is going to lead you to what you really want. And so it's good to know, what is it that I'm really wanting? Well, I'm wanting connection. I don't like the disconnection or the drift. So how can I say this in a way that's more than likely going to be received well?
Love that. It is Friday and Saturday, September the 15th and 16th at Mount Paran. Resist the Drift. You can get your tickets, faithtalkatlanta.com. Erin, you and Greg have no doubt seen so many folks, their lives just on the right track after a Resist the Drift conference. Can you give us maybe a quick story here?
We were in Phoenix, Arizona this last weekend, and we go down and we visit with people in between sessions. And I had a couple come up, and it was interesting because they said, we're not in crisis, but we definitely have drifted. A lot of people will say we're roommates, but we're committed. We love each other, but that's not what we want. And so they said, gosh, being here and having some of the conversations, because we encourage the couples then to take what we're saying, and then we'll give them, 2 minutes, have this quick conversation started at least, so they can finish it later on. They said just having these conversations actually has made us realize that we should have been having these conversations all along. And so they loved being at the event, and they were asking, gosh, is there more that we could be doing? And they talked about going to the marriage intensive program that Focus on the Family has, called Hope Restored. And they said, we're not in crisis, but after this, we just realized we want more. We want to live this last season of our marriage out well.
And I was going to ask you about more. Now, if folks are going to show up at the Resist the Drift, it's 2 days. It's going to be amazing. Post the conference, what can they do to continue? Because I'm sure that things come out as when we're married, things come out and need a little help. How can they get help?
Several options. The manual that they will get for the conference has lots of extra information in it, conversation starters, conversations to have. They can spend time reviewing that information. But if they realize, we really want to do more work on our marriage, maybe it's seeking out marriage counseling from a licensed Christian counselor. The really amazing thing about Focus on the Family, we have a referral network across the country. So they can call 1-800, the letter A, family, FAMILY, and get a referral for a marriage counselor in their area. Or if they realize we are stuck, we're in crisis, Focus on the Family offers a marriage intensive program called Hope Restored, and hoperestored.com. All the information is on there, and it's an amazing event or retreat, because 80% of the couples that go through it end up staying together long term. And there's actually a location in Rome, Georgia. So not far away.
That's not too far. So if you're in Metro Atlanta, there you go. Erin and Greg Smalley, a part of Resist the Drift. Erin's with us today, and we're so blessed to have her. It's coming up September the 15th or the 16th at Mount Paran Church. Go to faithtalkatlanta.com. All right, I mentioned crazy little thing called Marriage Podcasts. A lot of great podcasts there. Check them out. You've got some coming up. What's coming up, Erin? And who are you excited? I don't want to put you on the spot. Who are you excited about talking to in the next, let's say, the next season in the podcasts?
We had the Yurkoviches on. They're authors of How We Love, and I absolutely love them. So we're looking forward to having them back on. We just have lots of really interesting people come on some are trained counselors, some are just talking about their marriage. And I love that the podcast, we also bring on kind of, the everyday person. We often will have newlyweds on the podcast. So a newlywed will come on and we'll just interview them and say what's gone well, what's been hard, as well as we take callers. You can call in, go to resistthedrift.com, and there's a voicemail on the side that you just hit a button and you can record your question. And so then we respond to those questions on the podcast. It's really a fun experience to tape it. So I hope it's fun listening to it.
Okay, so Erin, when I call, is there going to be any type of machine so people don't know it's actually me when I'm calling? So
the voice covering. Well, yeah, this I don't know what it would say, but it would definitely keep you anonymous. You can say your name is whatever you want to say it is, or you can talk about your friend or neighbor that has some.
Oh, I have a friend.
Yes.
I love that. Erin and Greg Smalley, what a delight. We love them both. Appreciate both of you and just your wisdom and your time. You guys are just going everywhere, but thank you so much. Resist the Drift. Check them out. It is Friday and Saturday, September the 15th and 16th. And as Erin mentioned, after the fact, post-conference, there's a place you can go, and Focus on the Family has a place in Rome, Georgia, which is not too far from us here in Atlanta. Erin, thank you so much. Bless you. We've got to go. Thank you so much for joining us for Faith
Atlanta.
Thank you, Erin. And
okay.
Thank you so much for listening and watching Faith Talk Today. Ezra Ortiz is my producer. Until next week, I'm Rick Probst. This is Faith Talk Today. See ya.